Cool. We're going to be talking a little bit about Git today. Um, I know some of y'all have started working on project stuff, and some of y'all are still having a little bit of fuzziness around branching and merging and all that stuff. So let's talk about it a little bit. Um, Before I just jump in and start rolling through stuff, do y'all have any specific questions or anything you want to um, go into first?
When I go into the repository, I just noticed this morning, it says like your main branch isn't protected.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to understand what that was before I did anything with it.
When you did it on GitHub, went to the
Yeah.
yeah. Um I ignore that.
Okay.
It's something new they added recently. Um Being protected is not a Git thing. That's something that GitHub um threw on. Um what exactly are they talking about? Yeah, I think what they mean is that when you it, I think it gives you that message when you create a new branch, and the message is like, hey, anyone can merge that branch into main, which is what you want.
Okay.
So yeah, you can safely ignore that message.
Cool.
Yeah. uh, yeah, what else we got? What have folks been having trouble with Git?
You're probably gonna get into this, but so we made a branch on the Git desktop webpage,
Mhm.
and we are trying to like maybe not clone the repository, like get the yeah, I guess clone the repository onto our local machine, right?
Mhm.
So on the left-hand side, I'm selecting my branch, and then when I go to the code drop down, I copy that, I do git clone, but then when I like try to push it, it updates the main instead. I don't, maybe I'm doing something wrong.
um can you say the part about the branch again, just to make sure I know what you're talking about?
So I'm pulling the branch from the new one I made that's not the main branch,
Right.
and I'm using the green code button to get the SSH,
Okay.
and then I go to my terminal and then git clone.
Mhm.
But then when I push changes, it updates the main branch.
Yeah, cool. So when you grab that URL from the from GitHub, that is just going to clone down the repository. The so what's a repository? Repository is just a collection of changes, right? Each commit is basically saying change the repository from this state to that state by adding files, deleting files, changing lines, whatever. And when you branch, you're saying, hey, base this new set off of, we're gonna give it a new ID, and every commit you make to that afterwards can be connected to that. So you got like a little timeline of branches and stuff. But when you grab the repo via the URL or the SSH, it clones down. It starts off with the main. So when you're working in branches, uh, you need to make sure that you are in that branch, and you can either do that with git checkout from the command line, or if you're using a UI, they all have a way to do that. So just to clarify what you're saying that you pulled down from that branch. Did you Can you check to see that you are actually in that branch on your local
How do I check that on my local?
Git branch? It'll tell you what the branches are and what you're on.
Yeah, let me switch to the directory real quick.
Yeah. But sometimes you can. I don't do this, but you can set up your command line in the terminal to tell you what branch you're on. Um, or also, if you've opened up the directory in VS Code, down in the lower left, it'll tell you what branch you're on. So just verifying, checking out the branch that you intend to be on. Always good to make sure before you push stuff up. Are you seeing what you need to see there?
Sorry, yeah, I think I thought I already cloned it, but I think I deleted over the weekend because I was messing with it.
Right on.
I get a question. Oh,
Yeah, of
hold
course.
on. Let me unplug my mic. And oh, did it come back?
What's that?
Okay, sorry. It's whenever I do that, it connects to my Oculus.
Oh,
So what you were talking about, where you change it from main or to any of your branches in VS at the bottom left. Can you just directly push from there and it'll go to that like branch?
yeah. The first time you push from a branch, it'll probably say like you need to specifically type this blah 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 saying the thing. And just copy paste that. Or there's a setting you can set up in Git that just tells it not to ask that. But yeah, you kind of have to be able to push from a branch, or else you wouldn't be able to tell GitHub that you have that. Does that make sense?
Ye-
So my branch says main. I want to put in git branch.
Cool. So do you know how to switch to a new branch?
I do not.
Ah, cool. So you can just do git checkout and then the name of the branch. Checkout's all one word. And
Says your branch is up to date with origin/main.
cool. So when did you check out the new branch, or first off, does the branch exist on GitHub?
Well, I'm on it right now, so I'm assuming so, but I made it through the website and not to the terminal. I don't know if that changes anything.
Cool. So when you say git checkout and then the name of the branch on your command line, what happens there?
Oh, there it is.
Mhm.
Switch to the new branch. Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to create a new branch on the timeline, you do checkout -b. So git checkout -b, the name of the new branch, and it'll create that branch and switch to it. And then when you want to move around between branches, you do git checkout name of the branch. And you can work on that branch as much as you want. When you want to merge it back into a branch, so if you want to merge your feature branch back into main, or you can even branch off of a branch. You go to the branch you want to merge into. So you can go back to main and say git merge, and then the name of the branch you want to merge into the branch that you're in. And that's how you get your code back.
I see. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, not intuitive, I don't think. One of the things that I think some people get hung up on sometimes is sometimes it feels like there's a sense of hierarchy in Git where there's really none at all. Even though a branch is called main, all branches in Git are equal. Just because a branch is called main doesn't mean it's like mechanically a root branch or anything. Every repo starts off with something, and then makes commits off of that represent sets of changes. And you can branch off of main, you can branch off of that branch, you can branch off of that branch, you can merge stuff back to whichever branch you're in. Yeah, so you kind of have to impose that structure yourself. There's nothing really built into Git philosophically that has that. And the same thing with repos, like the repo on your machine and the repo on GitHub are equal. Just because GitHub is a convenient place to store stuff that's not on your computer, it's just another repo on someone else's computer. And the same with the people that you're working with. All those repos there's no like main or master repo. They're all if you were able to, if you and the person you're working with were running Git servers on your machine, you could just push back and forth directly to each other. GitHub is just a convenient place to have a Git repo, so you can push up to everyone can push up to one repo to keep that sort of essential repository. But yeah, Yeah, just because like the way we think about like directories or file structures or whatever, it feels there's something that modern people, I think, have the hierarchy shape built into their heads, and Git just does not have that. And if we think about it that way, sometimes we can just get a misunderstanding of how it's actually working. Tangent. Uh, did that help at all with what you got there?
Yes, that was perfect. But I also have another question, Ed. So when you merge repos together, right? Let's say I'm working on index.js and my partner's working on index.js as well, and we have,
merging branches, right?
yeah, merging branches. Sorry, yeah. Can we both work on the same file, and when we merge it, what happens to that file?
Great question. Yes, absolutely you can. That's Git is decentralized, so you can do exactly that. If you're working in different parts of the same file, Git is really good with merging, and it'll just merge those together seamlessly. If you both change the same part of the file, though, and then you both try to push somewhere or merge somewhere and push that, it's not going to know which one is right. So it'll generate a merge conflict. And basically what that does is in the file, it sort of delineates it with less than and greater than. It says, here's one change, here's the other change. Which one is the right change? And you can either decide which one to keep. You can manually work them together, but if you're not editing the same part of a file, it's all good. If you're editing that same part, you'll have to decide manually which one is the one that you want to keep, and that usually involves some communication with your partner, unless it's just like, oh, they used 4 spaces here and I used 8. Use whatever the standard for your project is.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, usually it's not a problem until it's a problem, and then even then it's pretty easy to fix.
Yeah, because I was just worried, like, okay, like, like we delegate, which lines of codes, right? And then I don't know, I add in like 4 extra lines, right? And I had said I'll do lines 1 through 20, and end up being lines 1 through 24.
Yeah, and one of the cool things you can do with JavaScript in a browser, the way we're doing it now, you can bring in more than one file. You can bring in more than one JavaScript file. So you can have like, oh, here's the the event listener file. Here's the manipulation. Here's the form submission file. Here's the file that does all of the fetch stuff. And whatever functions or code that you write in there is available to all of them because they're all dropped in the same page level namespace. So if you wanted to break out your functionality, say, oh, this file is just going to have functions that handle the form stuff. This file is just going to have functions that do fetching or whatever. And then that way it breaks it down so the bits and pieces that you have are more clear. And it also takes a little bit of the merge stress off. It's like, cool, you're going to work on the events. I'm going to work on the fetch and populate the page. They're in 2 different files. We're never going to conflict. Yeah, to the browser's view, including 10 JavaScript files, those are all like as if you included them all as one big file.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. What else we got?
What is stash and checkout?
So 2 completely different things. Checkout just means switch to a branch. So it's not a great name, but it's just the way it happened. So checkout just means I'm going to work in a different branch now. Stash. So the way that Git kind of manages all of its business there, you've got a repo, and that repo keeps track of which files. Let me back up. A repo is a set of changes. The current commit says this is what these files look like. When you want to make a change, whether it's adding files, deleting files, changing files, you start working on your files, and Git doesn't really know about those yet until you add them. And then it's like, hey, this commit has a bunch of changes that are ready to commit. If you don't commit them, you can stash those changes. And what that means is it's going to, take a look at the changes you've made, make kind of like a pseudo commit out of those, basically keeping track of the differences between the commit and the changes you've made, and it squirrels them away somewhere. So the branch that you're on when you stash is set back to the state it was when you committed or checked out that branch. And if you're like doing a lot of work and you save stuff, you're like, oh, I'm not sure if that's great. I'm going to stash this. I'm going to revert my changes and then try something else, or there's a lot of operations you do. You can pop those things back off. So the stash is a stack, actually. What that means is when you take some changes, it's a bit like a stack of cards, and each change is one of those cards. So you can say git pop. I think it's just git pop, and it'll take that most recent thing that you stashed and apply it to your branch. So you can stash stuff, do some stuff, stash it again, do some stuff, and then bring the stash back, and that'll reintegrate that stuff into your checkout, into your branch. Yeah, so checkout and stash, two different things.
Ooh.
What else we got? Cool. Yeah. Has anyone not been able to? What's the question I want to ask? Has anyone not been able to create a repo, add your contributor, and then both of you push changes up? Has there been any trouble with that besides whatever merging conflicts and stuff you might have had?
So since Travis and I got started, he created the repo, added me as a collaborator. I got that invite, I got in. So I haven't had any changes to push up yet. Travis did push some changes to it. Now I can see them on like the GitHub desktop, at the website, but not on my local machine, like in VS Code.
Oh,
And so I'm just wondering about, how to pull his changes down so I can see what he's added, because I still have blank files with just comment placeholders.
you said the magic word. All you do is git pull, and that will both pull the changes down and merge them into your branch. So if someone else has made pushes to a git pull, that'll also save you from potential merge conflicts in the future. If you like git pull compulsively, it'll always make sure that you're working on the same stuff that's in the repo. So because you can so both of you start from the same place. One person makes some changes, commits and pushes them up. The other person, a day later, just works on some stuff. Maybe they hit the same file, and then when you try to pull their changes in, it's like there's some conflicts maybe, and let's resolve them. Whereas if you pull before you start working, then you're working on the most recent stuff that they pushed up. So it's generally a good idea to either pull before you start working on something, or ideally make a branch and you're working on different branches named after the features. So like, I'll get checkout -b login form, and then I can work on the login form. When I'm done, I can merge that back into the main branch.
Okay. So when if I'm in the main branch and I want to pull changes down, or if I want to, well, let's start with that. It might be like something I'm missing, very basic, a connectivity issue, but I'm getting a message, fatal, not a Git repository or any of the pair.
So is it a Git repository? How can you tell that? You can tell that by doing a ls-a in the directory, and there should be a hidden directory called .git. If you don't see that, it's not a Git repository. Where did the directory that you're working in come from?
I cloned it from GitHub.
I'm skeptical because if you did that, there would be a .git directory.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll delete what I have and start from scratch and see if it's just some a typo or a connectivity issue. But yeah, it was just
yeah. What could cause that to not happen? Like if you cloned and it was like cloning all the stuff and doing all of its Git stuff, all that stuff should be in that directory.
yeah, I got it. I got it. So when I initially, Travis created the repo with a, index.html.js, CSS file and a JSON file and a README, just all with kind of placeholder
Mhm.
stuff. And so that's what I'm looking at now. And so I was able to clone that repo down on my machine. And then, but now it's still showing those initial placeholder comments where he has updated a bunch of stuff. So I don't know, maybe I'm better off starting from scratch, maybe remove what I've got and try it again.
Yeah, it's really curious because if you do an ls-a and there's no .git directory in there,
No, it just has the name of the repo, but no Git, no.
are you in the repo or are you in the directory that you cloned? So you're sitting in a directory and you say git clone that thing, and that will clone it into a directory called that repo. So then you
Hmm.
need a CD into that repo to be in the repo.
Okay, maybe I'm missing a basic step.
Make
So
sure you're in the right directory.
yeah,
Uh,
okay,
then if you do a ls-a there or do a git pull or whatever, then once you're in that directory, you can that's the repo directory. Is that looking like it might be the case?
probably. Let's see. So it has. So yeah, I'm in the directory in my I can't CD any further down. You know what I mean? Into it.
So you're in the directory on the command line that has all the
Hmm.
HTML files on it. If you do a ls-a there, it doesn't show you. It should show you .git and then like all the files.
Oh, there it is. Yep. Now I see it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm guessing
And
you
so
just
now if I do git pull, oh, now it's working.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was one step up in the directory, I
Yep.
guess.
I
Okay.
still do that all the time. Like, why?
Yeah, it looks right. Like the what it said on the command line looked almost the same. What am I missing? Yeah, it was just yeah, one step up.
Yeah, getting
Okay.
real familiar with navigating directories and all that stuff on the command line is super like fundamental, and
Awesome.
it's always going to be yeah, it's just another damn thing to keep track of in your brain.
That's great. No, thank you for helping
Yeah,
walking me through that. So now Travis and I can actually collaborate.
nice. Yeah, and if you're ever unsure, you can always do ls-a, and if you don't see that git directory in there, or if you see one in there and you're not sure why it's there, you're maybe in the wrong place, or you can start diagnosing from there.
Cool. Thank you. Makes sense.
Cool. What other questions do we have? Or what other problems have you had with Git?
Are we only speaking about Git?
Primarily, but if you got other stuff, I'm happy to talk about whatever.
I've had the biggest problem trying to get our API to read out on HTML. It'll read in VS, but it just won't come in HTML, like on the
Cool.
web page.
I love this question because it doesn't tell me anything about your problem. So what I want to do is let's refine our question asking thing. So tell me exactly what you're trying to do with the code and exactly what it's doing instead.
So when I'm trying to fetch our like database, our API, I get nothing when I console.log it in the console on the HTML.
Mhm.
But if I look at it directly inside the terminal in Visual Studio, I
Mhm.
do get the data pulled.
I'm curious. Can you share your screen? I'd like to see what this looks like.
Oh, it looks horrible. I spent all weekend.
That's
Let's
first
see.
started being good about something is kind of psychic or hot, yeah, whatever the saying is.
Let me make sure I got the right one. Yes. Okay. It's all over the place.
Awesome. Can you bump up the font size a little bit? Just the Command plus.
Command plus.
Or Control plus if you're on Windows. Yeah, there you go. Cool. So let's see what we got.
There's some placeholders in here.
Yeah, that's cool. So we've got our API. Are we sure that's the API? Because that's just
Well, I split it in half
oh,
because
I got it.
yeah.
So that's the root. That's great. So first thing we're doing is we're going to fetch comic. We're doing an async. Why are we doing async here? Not a judgment, just a question.
Just a question.
Yeah.
Because I rattled my brain, and that's what I ended up with after hours of looking online.
Cool. So here's the thing. You will see a lot of async await code in the wild. About half of the people like it, and about half the people hate it. I am on the code is exactly the same under the hood, like when it turns into bytecode after JavaScript is compiled or processed or whatever you call it, interpreted. But it's just the syntax is different. So the way that we've been doing it, fetch does it creates a promise, does the fetch, and then we do a dot then off of the promise. When you do async, it kind of looks like and I don't see any awaits in there, right? Oh no, there's two await. Okay.
There's a way, yeah.
Yeah, so when you do async await, it kind of looks like synchronous code, which unless you know what you're doing, can be really confusing. And then when you go back and see your .then type code, it's even more confusing. But cool. So I don't know if we talked about this in the curriculum at all. So and I'm happy with that. But let's talk about so async is a keyword that just says, hey, there's going to be some asynchronous stuff going on in this function, so keep an eye out. If you want to do an await, you need to async on your function. So that async keyword just says, in this function, we're going to be doing some asynchronous stuff. Be cool about it. And so we've got our fetch here on line 11. Let me actually draw, right? Yeah. We've got our fetch here on line 11. And was saying, okay, cool. We're getting the result, a response. So we're saying await fetch. And what that does is the await keyword says, this is an asynchronous call. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna stop here until this comes back. So it kind of turns asynchronous code into something that behaves like line by line code. So if you were just doing a fetch normally with the .then, you would say it was a do the fetch, and then you do all these, and then it would come back with a fetch, and you handle that in your .then. So in this case, it does the fetch, waits for it to come back, and then does the rest of the stuff. So I think it's a little bit more confusing. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't, but we can still work with it because it's exactly the same under the hood. It basically, instead of the promise waiting for .then to execute, this just hangs out until the promise comes back, and then you can do stuff with that. So await fetch, bam. So your URL path is cool. You're constructing that, and when you put in one of these URLs in a browser, does that come back with what you expect?
Are you like, yes?
So I see you're logging out URL path.
Yes.
If you put the thing that was logged out into a browser,
Yes, it comes out.
Cool. Always the first thing to check. That's where I'm.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
So
about where it stops working.
yeah, so we're making this. So again, I can tell you didn't. I can tell this is copy paste the code.
I was messing with this,
So
looking everywhere.
if we're doing a get, we don't need to include all the option stuff.
Okay.
So we can just do fetch Earl path. Keep it
Okay.
simple for the gets. But we should come back with a response. And then that response, we're doing another await on it. We are saying await getting the JSON, assigning it to comic, console log comic. That seems like it should maybe work. But who knows? So tell me the behavior that you're seeing that you're not expecting again.
So pretty much anything after this, after line 10, just throws out like an error.
What's the error?
Oh God. I don't remember.
Important stuff.
Yeah. Let's see if this is connected. I don't know if it'll show. Does it show?
Um,
Or is it only showing my VS?
I'm only seeing the VS. But if you're sharing your desktop, you should be able to move over to it and show it.
It gives me an in promise type error failed to fetch
Failed to fetch.
right here on line 11.
Okay. Failed to fetch. Does it give any details beyond that?
Gives me the line and then at fetch comic 19.
Can you like pop open a scratch document and just paste that error into it so we can see it here? Just like open up a new tab, Command T.
Command T.
Or are you on Windows or Control T? I guess it would be.
You want it in here?
Yeah.
Control T didn't do anything.
Or however Windows does it. Create a new tab here.
I can put in the README.
Let's do that while we're here.
This is what it brings
Cool.
out.
So type error failed to fetch. Cool. Tells us nothing. All right. So let's do some mechanical work on here. Let's go back to that. We're gonna turn it into a failed to fetch. Interesting. Actually, can you paste the Earl path that it's logging out as well?
When the one that does work on line 10?
Yeah, so whatever that's logging out on line 10. Cool. So if we look at that, that's https://xkcd.com info 0 JSON. Okay, cool. That gets us back a thing. So failed to fetch. Oh, is it a CORS thing? Yeah. Ugh, gross. So cool. Let's do this. I don't know that this will help, but let's give it a shot anyway. In the index.js, since we have all our headers there, access control origin, access control allow origin. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try it anyway. So in the what do you call it? The options here, we want to set no CORS. So let's prevent the method from being any. I forget how to do it in here. Anything other than simple headers. Gosh, I don't know if that's going to work or not. Yeah, because that's going to be. I might need to look this one up.
It's all good. I've been
Using the fetch API. There we go. Yep, that's right. Yep. Cool. So let's just say on line 12 there where it says cores.
Mhm.
Let's make that no dash cores. I think that's the only thing I can think of that might help. If that doesn't work, then it may just be an issue.
Oh.
That-
Mm,
Any luck?
I think that actually worked.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Cores. We talk about cores when we start building servers, but we should talk about it earlier because there's always a problem. Basically, cores is the cross origin resource scripting, something like that. It is a security measure that you can have on your server to basically make sure that it will only respond to requests from certain places. And for various technical reasons. In for us, in effect, what that means is that sometimes our requests won't work, which is frustrating. You can sometimes trick it into working by doing this mode no cores. But yeah, if that doesn't work, there are other workarounds that are grosser. But yeah, if this works for you, great. I hope that is good. If you would like, you don't have to. You can convert this back into a .NET style, but if this makes sense to you, rule 2, as long as it makes sense for you and your partner, totally cool.
I don't know if I want to mess with it.
Yeah, I would recommend not, but I'm not a cop. Do what you like. Awesome. Yeah, this
Thank
is a
you.
good thing to look at because folks will definitely run into this in the future. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Cool. What other questions do we have?
I've got a question that might be a little specific to Wes and I's project. But so our project is to basically create like a little trivia game. So it'll like pull you load the page and a random trivia question will pop up.
Mhm.
The API like generator that we found to do this, it like allows me to generate an API URL, excuse me, with a maximum of 50 like questions.
Mhm.
Like in my mind, I'd rather have, maybe 5 different categories and 50 questions in each.
Mhm.
And I haven't even started to look into this, but I'm like a little wondering like what's the best way to get to that object array of 250 when the API generator won't let me go past
That's a great
50.
question. Yeah. So this is the thing with public APIs, right? They are all implemented differently and have their own restrictions and whatnot. If the API does not let you do a certain thing, there's not really much you can do about it. What you can do though is make your requests for the data that you want, and if you have to make more than requests, do that. Save it and throw it in an object and run your own JSON server with that data.
Okay. Cool. That's kind of what I was thinking, but I didn't know if that was like kosher.
Yeah, that's totally cool. Because it's whether you're hitting an external API or JSON, you're hitting the same kind of thing.
Okay.
That's all.
And so to do that, like, because I can get these outputs, right? Like, hey, here's 50 questions. I can do that 5 times.
Mhm.
And do I just copy and paste that into my db.json?
Yeah. And so then you need to think about how you want to structure that, because if you can put them all into because JSON server needs an object with keys that are the resources. So you can have just the one resource and have all that stuff there. I don't know if your data is like tagged by category or whatever. That means you would need to figure out some way to get stuff and either filter by that category or yeah, that's JSON server work. So I would say fiddle with that and see. Think about what you want your data to look like coming back and what you want those requests to look like, and see if you can bash that into that shape. And if not, we'll talk about it and figure it out.
Cool.
Awesome. What else we got?
I had a question. I went through the whole process of creating a new branch and then making changes and then merging the branches together.
Mhm.
But then it doesn't look like my environment catches up. Like if after I merged the two branches together, I deleted the older branch.
Mhm.
In my environment, it still has that old branch. And then any changes that was made onto the master branch, if I switch to the master, then the changes don't pop up like on the files.
So talk me through how you merge stuff.
I created a new branch
Mhm.
and then I went to my code environment and I switched to that branch.
Mhm.
I didn't do checkout though. I did git switch
Hmm.
to that one. And then all I did was on my db.json file, I just added some content in there
Mhm.
and I added it, I committed it, and then I pushed it. And then I went to my Git, and then I went to
When you
the
say you went to your Git, what does that mean?
the GitHub,
Okay, yeah.
and then I did the pull request, and then I approved it and merged them.
Mhm.
And then everything it popped up right here, like on the GitHub main page. But it's just when I go back to my code environment, it still has the deleted branch.
Did you do a pull from GitHub?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. If you want to get stuff from another repo, you need to pull it in. So you can just go to your main branch and do a git pull, and that should pull out all the changes that you push up there.
It's full. It says it pulls out an error. It says your configuration specifies to merge with the ref's heads master from the remote, but no such ref was fetched.
Can I see that one? Can you share the screen?
Yeah. Yeah, right here.
Merge with the ref. Oh, are you on? So can you do git branch -a? Cool. So did you push up changes to main or master? Looks like you're in master right now.
Yeah.
By default, it uses main now. I'm not sure where that came up. So if you can do git checkout main, that will get you in your main branch there. That's what you do. Great. And if you do your git pull there, that should bring down whatever's in there. It's already up to date. Are the files over here on the left side what you expect to see?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's up to date with your remote GitHub.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And you can see up here on the left side in GitHub that it says it's main there.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
There's history. The main branches in GitHub used to be called master branches, and the terminology shifted. Not everything is up to date with the new terminology. But yeah, so if just make sure that you're on the branch that you think you are, because we can see that we're in master here and on main on GitHub. So yeah, whatever the words are that we use, just make sure we're on the same branch.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Thank you.
That's an easy mistake to to not see. Awesome. Anything else we want to talk about?
Is there a difference between using the git checkout to swap branches or just clicking like the bottom left and going to it?
It does the same thing under the, yeah. So VS Code is basically issuing those commands for you. Yeah. Yeah, I use like 50-50. It's the same thing. What else?
I get a question.
Yeah.
So I noticed I'm on main, which I'll fix that. But my main has a star next to it. Does that mean anything?
Is it let me make sure I'm not lying. I think that just means that's the one that you're on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't make the picture happen in my head. If I do, let's make sure. Repo here. Yeah, let's do that one. Branch. Yeah, the star is just the one that you're on. I believe.
Cool. Thank you.
I might be lying, but I'm pretty sure that's what it means. It should be star.
Mine does not have a star, and I am on it.
Is it bolded?
Like we're talking in the bottom left, right?
Oh, what when
Yeah.
you do a git branch? Oh, if you do, maybe that means that there's uncommitted changes.
Oh, that could be it. Yeah.
Possible. Yeah. Yeah, I bet that's what it is. Yeah, it's all cryptic. But yeah. It should be documented somewhere, but it's just little things you get used to. Yeah, there's so many nerds are weird, man. There's like so many assumptions people make that we once you, and this is like the big challenge teaching this, because there's a billion little things that we just take for granted. And then when someone's like, why is there a star next to it? Like, oh, I don't know, man. I just assume there's like something that I slide by. We don't even think about teaching it because it's just kind of gross. So developing curriculum and making sure everyone has exactly all the stuff to know, the balance of like telling them every little thing and not just reading a manual to people is it's a skill. That's super hard. Cool. Yeah, what other questions do we have? If any. Cool. That feels like a good amount of stuff. Sweet. I've recorded this, so if anyone wants to refer back to it, it'll be available in the usual places. Yeah, otherwise, last call. Cool. Every project at branch, I think we have 4. So if you haven't gotten your repo and stuff together, with the docs and stuff, send it to me, post them in the branch. Ask questions in the branch. It'll be a nice way to keep stuff organized. So yeah, any of the stuff we talked about today, super legit to just put up on the channel and say, hey, what's up with this? And that also creates a record. So when people in the future have that same problem, they can search for it and find the answer. So yeah, so I do that stuff. I think I'm still waiting for one repo. Yep. So whenever y'all do that, get that. And yeah, I think that is all I've got for you now. Anything else before we close up? Cool. Thanks for hanging out. I'll post this up directly and I'll see y'all in a little bit.